All right, today we're going to talk about sealer applications for racing surfaces, go-kart tracks, car tracks. Our home track is Phoenix Kart Racing Association. I'll refer to it as PKRA from now on. It's here in Phoenix. It's hot. It's sunny all the time. Every day we got 40 or 50 karts out there, soft tires. The track is twisty, so the kart's always loaded up into the asphalt. It makes for the worst conditions on all accounts for both the tires and the asphalt. That's why I refer to it as the gauntlet of tire testing, because it's just in the worst conditions possible. Asphalt is comprised of a larger aggregate, medium aggregate, and a fine aggregate, plus the bitumen. The aggregates are just larger pebbles, 1/2 inch, 3/4, and then the sands are the fine aggregates. The bitumen is something that comes out of the distillation process for petroleum products. It is the tars, the asphaltenes that come out of the bottom of the distillation stack. And those, when they're mixed in the asphalt over time, will, one, get peeled up by the soft tires, literally stuck to it, peeled up. And it's a tar. It does get hard, but it has still a little bit of oil in it, and that dries out over time, bakes in the sun, and seemingly just kind of evaporates, vanishes away. Just the nature of it. And out here, it happens fairly quick. You start off with something looking like this, and in 5 to 10 years' time, depending on where you are, you may be somewhere where it's not under harsh conditions like it is here, but at some point it starts looking really rough, like that, where it's just nothing but the aggregate standing proud. That's what's super abrasive on tires and what wears tires out fast. The more the bitumen is peeled out, the more that that tar loses its natural oils in it and dries up, the more the aggregate stands prouder, and that's what acts like sandpaper against the tire. And not only is that abrasive, but when you have just the little contact patch of the tire riding on the points of the aggregate, you have less grip as well, so you naturally tend to slide a little bit more across the asphalt, which makes things even worse, because now you're building even more heat into the tire. About 4 or 5 years ago, we had what looks like that out there at our track. Super coarse, and the shifter tires were lasting 40, 50 laps. It was absurd. We resealed the track with a product called PMM. It was a polymer modified sealer. It was put down with a spray wand. It was basically painted in lieu of put down by a squeegee, which is a different process, but it wasn't squeegeed. It was just laid down by a spray wand. It had some sand mixed into the sealer as well to give it some bite, because on one end of the spectrum, you have super coarse. On the other end of the spectrum, you have super smooth, like an indoor kart track. And if you were to graph abrasiveness on one axis and grip level on another axis, you would see the correlation between the two is a parabolic curve. So there's a sweet spot, and that's where the sand comes into play. The application afterwards took about 2 weeks to break in, as I say. Just naturally, it doesn't all stick. All the sand doesn't stick. Some of the sand comes off. You see it on the tires when you come in on the pits. It's still stuck to the tire, and the track's slow. There's a pretty large lack of grip for a while until the track wears in, and that depends on how much traffic you have on the track as well. But when we put this down the first time, it took about 2 or 3 weeks for the track to wear in, and the track was fantastic. We set all new track records. We were probably 1/2 second, 8/10 faster than what the track was before. And the track rode that peak for probably 6 months in peak performance. After about that, the sealer started to wear out. It train tracked in the racing line where the tires naturally all run in the racing line. It peeled it up. And after about a year's time, after the sealer had been applied, the benefit that we had got from that was pretty much gone. And after 2 years, it was for sure gone. And the track sealer, seemingly most of it had almost vanished. It was put down lightly by spray application, and also a product that is not the stickiest compared to other products. So about 2 years, like I had said, had gone by. The shifter traffic and enthusiasm and race entries had really dropped off then, and the tire wear is a big part of it. So I took it upon myself to try and help the problem. So I went out and collected 4 or 5 bids, came up with a better solution to try to fix this. And what we'd come up with the contractors was a product from Sealmaster called Liquid Road. And instead of laying it down by a spray application, this was done by a machine with a drag box behind it. And it goes down thick. It has a living organism in it that only has a shelf life of about 2 days. It makes it sticky. It sticks to the surface it's being applied to, and it also just helps it stay more durable, and it's a harder material. It has sand mixed in it from the plant already, and this material takes longer to break in, per se. It takes longer to cure. The track probably took about twice as long to break in as it did before. Probably took about a month to really break in, and performance has been great since then, even faster than before. If we're going to give some metrics on lap times, I'd say it was probably about a second faster now than what it was when it was at its worst. The shifter tire wear at its worst was 40-50 laps. First time we sealed it with the PMM, we were probably 80 laps or so, and now we're at like 100-110 laps. So everything's drastically improved. The application of it, when they run the drag box through the track, they kind of run it down the center of the track. And the drag box, the box behind it's a trailer. It's got a big drum with the material in it, and a drag box behind it that has this tiller in it that spreads it out and lays it down a 1/4 inch thick. The edges have to be kind of drug out. The extra material, they drag it out by hand. And just naturally, from the way this process works, it's not put down as thick towards the edges. If I had to do it again, I would either do one of two things: drag box it twice so it's laid down thick everywhere, or run the drag box down the racing line, exactly along the racing line. That way that part had the thicker layer of material compared to the other parts. But anyway, here we are. I think it's 6 months later, and the track's holding up much better than it did before, but we are starting to see some wear. There is 2 areas. One is in what we refer to the Daytona, where it's at the end of the straightaway. You're coming in with the most speed, and it's banked, so it's got the most load on it. There, it's not train tracking, but you're starting to see a uniform wear across there, where it's just starting to look rough again. And there's another spot or two where it's just a particular spot where the cart's really loaded up. And in my opinion, after a year, I think we're about at the peak, and we're going to ride that peak for another few months, and the performance is going to start to fall off. I recommend every year in these few areas, we come back and just spot seal these. The rest of the track, where all the other sealer stuff was put down, is holding up much better than the PMM was. So where that PMM, we had to reseal the entire track after 2 years of it sitting there. You couldn't tell that it was there much anymore. I think this is gonna, at 2 years down the road, it's gonna hold up much better. And from what I can tell so far, that just in the high load areas, we can go back on a yearly basis, and there's just some small areas, and we can lay it down by hand. You'd be surprised how inexpensive this stuff is per gallon. Show up to the plant with a 55-gallon drum, put it on the back of a little small trailer, drive around the track. You can self-perform it, go get you some squeegees, drag it out. you can pay a contractor too. But anyway, if you're a track owner, track manager looking to prolong the life of your track, wanting to make it look nice and black again, or you have some blemishes and imperfections in the track, this is thick enough that it can smooth out some of that. If you have a super abrasive track that's just eating tires, this is an excellent product. Not only is it great for prolonging the life of a surface for a track owner, but it really helps the wallets for the members and the drivers that use the track. And another interesting thing that I learned, that, like I said earlier, there is an optimal level of abrasiveness when it comes to finding the perfect balance of tire wear and grip level. And you can have the softest tire in the world from the 90s, 2000s, Bridgestone Vega that lays massive, stacks of rubber. But on a track that's real abrasive and has got all the aggregate standing real proud, it's not going to lay rubber. You got to have the track to go with it as well that can actually accept the rubber. And we learned that this year with the Rotax. They laid rubber, more rubber than I've ever seen in my experience at this track. And that was due to the balance between how smooth and how abrasive the track was. So I hope this helps anyone interested in sealing their home track and just being informative to know what's going on and the underlying reasons of what a sealer does to a track. If y'all have any questions, leave them in the comments. And like always, we'll see you at the track. So in summary, you need to stay away from regular sealers. You need to stay away from a PMM sealer. Always use a product like Liquid Road from Sealmaster or something equivalent. If you're in a really harsh environment like we are here, you need to spot apply in the heavy wear areas every 9 months to a year. And you can do that and prolong the life of that base coat, probably 10 years, possibly longer. If you're in an area that's not as harsh as it is here, maybe you can spot apply every 2 years or so to prolong that base coat.